What's going on, guys, and welcome back to not part 2, but part 3. That's right, there's a lot of horror movies to pick from. And dude, I'll talk about every single one of them. You let me know which ones you want to hear, it's happening. The amount of times I watch horror movies alone by choice, like, I talk so much during horror movies, I honestly think it's just me combating my own fear. Like, kind of like when you're home alone and then all of a sudden you love singing out loud and dancing. It's kind of like that. Well, another video, another list. We'll get to those later. Anywho, you know what this list is all about. You've seen part 1, you've seen part 2, and if you haven't, you know what to do after this. I'm Taylor McWatters, and this is our top 5 horror movies you've probably never seen, part 3. Number 5, Poltergeist. No, not that one. I said the real Poltergeist. Yeah, I'm talking about the 1982 Poltergeist movie. The movie where the two leads, Diane and Steve, played by JoBeth Williams and Craig T. Nelson, aka Mr. Incredible, they straight up roll and smoke weed in their bedroom while they're reading at night. Like, as if they could do that while their kids are in the next room. Anyways, it's extremely aged and awesome. Maybe the Poltergeist never even happened. I mean, maybe everyone just got super baked and then they thought shit was floating around their room. If you haven't seen the original version, you owe it to yourself. Go give it a shot. Sure, it's old and cheesy at parts because it's very dated, but the history behind the movie is the bone-chilling part. So the actress who played Diane, JoBeth Williams, said in an interview that while they were filming this movie, she had to go into this huge tank of what she thought were plastic skeletons and mud, but later found out that the bones were very much real. Yeah, because real bones were cheaper, production saw nothing wrong with this idea. Nice. So she spent like 5 days filming with human bones. Like, way to go method, Spielberg. I mean, come on. You made E.T., just make other stuff. And that's not the creepy part either. I'm just kind of laying the foundation for this thing. 4 cast members ended up passing away during and after the filming, including the main little girl, Heather O'Rourke, at just age 12. So many have drawn lines connecting that these tragic random deaths to the fact that they used real remains of real people to film a movie. Now, of course, you're gonna think of that. See, knowing these things while you watch it just adds more goosebumps to the mix. The film itself is aged, but it's still quite scary. If you're new to the game and you have no idea what I'm even talking about, Poltergeist is a family whose house gets haunted by, well, you guessed, a poltergeist. Simple as that. So basically there's a family and a girl may or may not be sucked into a TV and may or may not be missing in her own house, and there may or may not be a bunch of ghosts that just happen to appear and move things around. There may or may not be a crazy clown scene that's been used in numerous parodies, and there may or may not be a part where a tree grabs a little boy and pulls him out of the house. And if you like the Paranormal Activity movies, you'll love this one. Just go and give it a shot, and if you like that, you'll even like the 2015 remake, which not a lot of people liked, so. Number 4, the Amityville Horror. Released in 2005, this Ryan Reynolds horror went under the radar for the most part. I mean, I didn't really watch it or hear of it that much until recently. The film takes place in December 1975 when George and Kathy Lutz, played by Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George. So the newlyweds move into a house in Long Island with their 3 children, one of which was actually played by a young Chloe Grace Moretz. How fun. It was her first movie. This recently married happy family sets up camp at their new home and things begin to spiral. So right as they're about to move in, the real estate agent informs them that there was a previous murder in the same house. But allured by the price and size of this arguable dream house, George responds with, houses don't kill people, people kill people. Then they do a handshake, a cool montage of them moving in, and bam, our Lutz family is settled. So over the course of the movie, we slowly start to see spooky stuff. Some in the form of creepy imaginary friends. Ryan Reynolds even hears voices and finds unsettling things around the house. I'm not giving too much away, don't worry. The cast is great. Usually with a horror movie, the child actors aren't the strongest. I mean, obviously, not enough experience. But these kids are great. I mean, there's this really cool sequence where Chloe Grace Moretz actually stood on top of the house. It was like a full-on stunt with the whole team and everything. Michael Bay was involved in the making of the film, so of course there was a day like this.
He came back down, he goes, her lip was trembling, and then all of a sudden she started to do it and she got more fun with it.
Hey Richard? Yeah? Let's lock in.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. This was Chloe Grace Moretz's first movie, like I said. Her first movie! Like, yeah, imagine going to an audition, nailing it, and then all of a sudden Michael Bay is just wiring you up to a crane. He's like, you got it, kill it! And you're just floating there like, awesome, cut, can we call cut? She went on to do those kick-ass movies right after, so maybe this production got her thinking about focusing on doing all these badass crazy roles. Good for her. This girl was killing it even younger than we thought previously. And of course, Ryan Reynolds does an amazing job in this movie, especially towards the second half. He really steps it up. Funny enough, James Van Der Beek was originally asked to play the role of George Lutz, but he turned it down, therefore giving us Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, aka Ryan Reynolds. Another fun little thing about production is right before shooting started, a body of a fisherman who was murdered washed up on the bank of the river near the main house. Gotta love haunted productions, apparently. Number 3, The Boy. Okay, who doesn't love babysitting a creepy doll, right? What could go wrong? The Boy, directed by William Brent Bell, released in 2016, is about a young American nanny, Greta, played by the wonderful Lauren Cohen, as she gets hired for a job in a remote English village to take care of an 8-year-old boy. Only upon arrival, she discovers that the boy is actually just this life-size doll. Okay, sorry? She responds by laughter, obviously. She just signed on for a job and then realizes that it's clearly a joke. I'd laugh too. Oh, I'd laugh so hard also. Like right in the doll's face too. I'd be dead in seconds. So yeah, she has to mind this doll and she has a super strict set of rules to follow. So Brahms, the name of the boy, well rather the doll, is referred to a living person up until this point, so she has no idea. The lady that hired Greta even said that he didn't approve of other nannies, except for her. So off the bat, this is wild. The parents of the boy treat him like a real kid, like they tuck him in, they talk to him, it's super chilling. So she calls her friend up from the house and she explains how this family is messed up. Clearly she made a mistake. They treat the doll like a child, like what is going on? And there's even a massive family portrait on display as soon as you walk in with the doll. So how is everyone acting normal? This is so terrifying. So Greta's friend tells her just to ride it out, encouraging her even to stay. She mentions that somebody had come by looking for her, a male, it's kind of insinuated, and Greta says not to tell him anything. So clearly she's in a spot where she can't really go back home, or at least she feels unsafe. They don't expand on it too much, which is kind of nice. A little bit too much backstory is kind of predictable for what's going to happen at the end of movies. Or at least she feels unsafe. So the situation has the upper hand and she decides to stay and read to a doll. Now, of course, things escalate and get scarier and scarier, but Lauren Cohen's performance alone is enough to make this far-fetched story very believable. She doesn't overdo it at all. She actually reacts, for the most part, like I would've in the moments. Like laughing in the face of the thing, I would've done that too. And also, the rules she has to follow, which are very important, as most rules are, bad kids out there listening. Those rules are, 1, no guests. Alrighty, I'm out. 2, don't cover Brahms' face. I would leave him in the dryer right off the bat. 3, save meals in the freezer so he can eat. Huh? Help him with his studies. Like bed mass? What kind of studies? No loud music. And always kiss him goodnight. Okay, so I've had some bad jobs in my life, but there's no way I would sign on for this. What about you guys? If you had all these rules and this boy doll thing, would you agree to this job? I mean, how far would you go to get paid? Let us know down below. I want to hear your answers, seriously. Number 2, Final Destination. Have you nearly avoided a disaster? Like maybe you're driving and then right after you change lanes, you see like a car accident or something crazy behind you? Well, in Final Destination, released in 2000, 20 years ago, wow, we're getting old, directed by James Wong, the same guy who brought you the X-Files, we see that idea in a horrific way. Starring Devon Sawa and Ali Larter, and Stifler even, aka Sean William Scott, Final Destination is a movie about death, and quite literally just that. Death is the villain in this movie. There's no ghosts, no haunted houses, no creepy dolls doing math equations, just the force of nature, that being death. We find a group of classmates as they're about to head to Paris for a trip, and right after boarding the plane, Alex, Devon Sawa, has a premonition of the plane going down, killing everybody on board, including himself. Suddenly he wakes up, still in his seat during boarding, to find that none of that horrific stuff actually happened yet. First of all, who falls asleep during boarding? Like, that's impossible. And also, there's always that one guy who can't figure out his luggage. So he convinces a handful of his classmates to get off the plane. And of course the inevitable happens and the plane goes down. So naturally, Alex looks like an insane person. He gets questioned by the cops, his friends are pissed, none of them know what happened, including himself. He can't explain it. So as if that wasn't bad enough, Death still has some names on her list and she's coming to collect. Alex's classmates begin being stalked by Death one by one. Look, if you like the Saw franchise, you're gonna like these movies. It's basically just an hour and a half of, let's see how some crazy shit can happen where someone ends up dying. It's basically what it is. It's always a slow, ominous way too. Like if I got off that plane, a train would go by here, shaking the stool, then Chris's coffee would fall and hit the wires, then a bird would fly into my face, and then I'd fall into a set light and my arms would fly off. Or something insane like that. It's actually really weirdly enjoyable to watch. And the two leads, Ali Larder and Devon Sawa, try and figure out how to get a jump on it. And they find that students are dying in the same order as they did in his premonition. And now we got ourselves a plot. So, there's like 5 of these movies now, and honestly, after 3 it just kind of gets a bit old or a bit lazy, I don't know, it lost its vibe. But for a movie that relies on the actors to sell everything, the first 3 were quite enjoyable. Go give it a shot, and if you love them, 4 and 5 are fine, I guess. Number 1, Don't Breathe. Okay, this movie is gold, okay? Imagine breaking into someone's house and then this old guy started to come after you. It's kind of scary, right? But imagine if this old guy was blind. Suddenly it's not that scary anymore at all. He's just an old guy who's blind. I mean, you couldn't have made this easier for us. Let's just toss a yogurt at him and then walk out the front door. Easy, easy peasy. Wrong. In Don't Breathe, we get to see the ultimate version of this. Released in 2016, we find a group of thieves who think they found the perfect house. The old guy they're planning on robbing? Yeah, that's Stephen Lang, or Stephen Lang. And if you're not sure who he is, well, he's the terrifying guy in Avatar, who's extremely ripped. Everybody thought he was gonna be Cable in Deadpool 2. He still should have been. You know, the guy who looks like he can break your femur with just one punch. Him. So yeah, they have this master plan to go in, grab the goods, and head out. This guy, however, not so helpless after all. This is very similar to Hush, or even A Quiet Place, and it's equally as tense. So this shredded dude finds this amusing. He knows his house like the back of his hand. Being blind, he's had to rely on his hearing to do all the heavy lifting. So watching this movie is just like holding your breath for an entire movie. Simple plot executed very well. The robbers, Dylan Minnette, Jane Levy, and Daniel Zavato, do a great job at doing the logical thing in these situations. They don't just duck under a table for an hour and then try and hide. No, they try and get shit done. It's super fast paced and it's really rewarding by the end of the film. I'll finish this list off on a question. If you could live through one of these movies, being Hush, A Quiet Place, Don't Breathe, which one would you prefer to ride out the entire time? Next video, I'm gonna read some of the comments so we can talk about it. 'Cause these are very similar movies and I'm curious which specific version you would rather live through. Well, there you have it, guys. Which scary movie did we forget on this list? Let us know so we can watch them and suffer with you. And as always, thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't already, just hit the subscribe button and that notification bell. It's right there. That way you don't miss any future videos. I'm Taylor McWatters. Stay spooky, San Diego. See ya. Don't breathe. Oh, as I'm inhaling. Don't breathe. All right, let's talk about some spooky shit.
Do it.
Number, oh no.
It'll cut off. At least it's right off the bat and not
Yeah.
get in the way.
I always forget too. I'm always like, all right, let's do it. And then it stops and I'm like, oh yeah. Imagine going to an audition and then all of a sudden Michael Bay is just wiring you up to a crane and you're like, ah, sick. Am I getting paid double? Oh no, oh no. Sponsored by Swell. We're not, just kidding. What could go wrong? That was crazy timing. I was like, what could go wrong as the building collapses? Jesus. And I'm losing my voice. Sorry, can we go back a little bit? Try to riff in there.